Hello, welcome to the Living in Salida podcast, a podcast that offers insights into the charm and reality of living, working, and playing in the small mountain town of Salida, Colorado. I'm your host, McCarthy, a realtor that specializes in buying and selling in the Salida, Colorado area. In addition to helping people buy and sell property here, I love connecting with the wonderful people of our community, learning about their experiences in our town, and sharing these little slices of life in Salida with you. Today we're going to be talking about a hot topic here in Salida and the Chaffee County area in general, which is housing. Chaffee County is a desirable mountain area with limited inventory and home prices that have been rising over the years, causing a challenge for many to afford homes here. And one organization working to help with this challenge is the Chaffee Housing Authority, which is a multi-jurisdictional housing authority working across Chaffee County to ensure we are a thriving community with housing for all. And today we're going to be talking to Marjo Curgus, the Interim Director for Chaffee Housing Authority, or CHA. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love this whole concept of sort of connecting place and people and homes. It's
great. Good. Well, yeah, no, thank you for being here because, there's a lot of facets to Salida in general. And we live in a wonderful place, and a lot of people want to come here and learn about being here. And part of that is that housing here has become more of a challenge. And
location.
Yeah, exactly.
As the real estate phrase goes.
Totally. Yeah. So I want to, just name that and address it and talk about, what can we. It's a complex topic.
So complex.
But first, before we get into the complexity of it all, I want to first ask you. So we'll start light, and then we'll get a little bit more into. So, who are you, and what drew you to this lovely area? Yeah. And then we'll talk more about this more in-depth topic.
I like to say that I chose to move from the bottom of the Sangre de Cristos to the top of the Sangre de Cristos.
Okay.
I came from Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is also a beautiful place, same elevation, same ecosystem, and sits at the bottom of the Sangres.
Okay.
And when I started kayaking, I of course discovered Salida because we would come up here to boat pretty much every weekend for 6 weeks at a time, and I just of course fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And when I moved to Colorado, I ended up moving to Grand Junction for a job.
Okay.
And about a year and a half into that job, they were like, well, you can live anywhere in Colorado you want. And I said, I know exactly where I want to be.
Okay.
And I'd already been professionally engaged working with Chaffee County.
Okay.
This is way back in 2005, 2006. So I moved here in 2007 and have been here pretty much the whole time except for a 3-year stint in Denver. I tried the big city thing for a short while for work.
Yeah. And couldn't quite stay.
Yeah, it has its charms, but I ended up driving here every weekend. So,
funny.
I was like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, get that mountain escape, right?
I would come paddle. So I don't quite paddle as hard as I used to, but I still just love being here. So it fits, for all the same reasons that other folks want to be here. We're drawn to just how beautiful it is. We're drawn to the fact that small town charm still exists.
It does.
I think we're such a friendly community. Mm-hmm. And I just had a friend here from Montrose, and she was like, oh my God, everyone here is so nice. I'm like, yeah, we're trying to keep that.
Totally. We
definitely
are.
So, part of dealing with affordable housing is making sure that, we don't create, anger and resentment about this beautiful place we all live. And we can instead sort of create housing for all so that we can have it be available to everyone. So,
and it doesn't feel out of touch for too many.
But I was lucky. I was one of the few that moved here in 2007. I'm a planner, so I was working for a nonprofit, and I could work from anywhere. And at the time, that was unheard of. I was very early, I've spent my whole career working alone, and I'm during the pandemic, I was like, oh my God, working alone is so hard. I'm like, welcome to my professional lifestyle.
Yeah, you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah. So, it allowed me to be here, and now it's allowing other people to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, a lot of people who come here work remotely and bring their work with them. So that's another whole community in and of itself within this area because we don't have a ton of industry for jobs
and
here.
A lot of them end up volunteering. I'm very engaged in the community through my work, clearly. Yeah. And, it is amazing the number of people that have moved here that really do understand how special this place is and do want to give back. And I think we need to sometimes, recognize that, yep, we are growing and there are people coming from outside, but they're also becoming really strong, valuable, wonderful community members and friends. And so it's like community change is hard.
Yeah, yeah. And then, I mean, the change is the only constant in life. So, you know, how can we change, adjust responsibly and keep that community and that charm you mentioned? Yeah, so very important. Well, so, yeah, you've been here for a while. You were drawn to all the beautiful reasons that everybody else likes being here. So, yeah, tell me a little bit about the Chaffee Housing Authority and, you know, how you became in your role, and then we can kind of dive into all of the more complex
so
topics.
I actually, because I am a community planner and sort of work in this field, back in, God, now I can't even remember the years that the Housing Policy Advisory Committee or Council existed, but it was pre-CHA.
Okay.
So I helped facilitate that for a couple of years, and then helped to advocate as a volunteer for the creation of the Multi-Jurisdictional Housing Authority.
Okay.
And, you know, sort of stood up and said, this is what our community needs. We've got, you know, the trend line is showing where we're headed.
Yeah.
And as every amenity community has experienced, we too shall experience the housing crisis. And so we were fortunate that the local governments all kind of heard that call and committed to creating the CHA. So my involvement was way back then.
Wow.
And then when the interim position became available between, you know, the executive director leaving and needing to go through a hiring process through what was at the time a very complicated transition because it had to go through this ballot measure to debruce. You don't have to get into debrucing. Thank you, voters. Thank you for understanding, because it has allowed us to exist and thrive since.
That's great.
You know, I stepped into that role because I believe in the mission of the organization. And I mean, it might come as a surprise, but I don't own my own home. I live in a rental, and I feel very fortunate to have found the rental that I'm in. And, you know, I spent a month living with my mom. I spent 6 months living in her apartment during COVID because I did not have a place to live. Like, I've sort of experienced those challenges of being here when things just went off the hook. During the pandemic, and sort of, you know, made me more committed to the mission. And you can,
you're standing with everybody else on it.
I know, that's a surprise. Everyone's like, you don't understand. I'm like, I kind of do.
It sounds like you do. And I think that's important. I think a lot of people who are involved.
I'm fortunate that I have a very stable job, but, you know, I own my own business, and I've had waves of good times and bad times with sort of owning my own company, and I'm not always thriving, and it's hard to live here, and I go through those cycles even myself. Of, God, is it worth it? Is like, but you go on a bike ride, or you go to the river, or you like go hear music, and you're like, oh my God, I love it here. And then it's all worth it, and it's like, okay, the struggle is real, but you know, we really do. For the CHA, you know, I think the way we sort of approach the housing for all is that we work with, you know, a number of different groups of populations. And, you know, there's a lot of confusion, like, what is affordable and affordable for who? There is no single definition for who it is affordable for. So we really like to think more about the people that we're serving. And how we can provide services to them. And sometimes those services are human services, and sometimes those services are like more brick and mortar. But we look across sort of that housing spectrum of, you know, there are people who are homeless that want to transition into stable housing. So that's a population we serve. And we have some programs for that. The next is we have some it would be under HUD, they describe it as extremely low income. And we could tie them to AMIs, but we won't. But that, you know, we see a lot of seniors. We see a lot of people that have lived here for a very long time that have been living in RVs or campers, and they're getting to that age where that lifestyle is no longer really supporting them. And want to move into housing, but are very low income. So we work to try to support them with the applications to get into some of the housing that is available for that income level. But there tends to be very long waiting lists. As well as we're advocating and continuing to work towards creation of new housing. And then we have, you know, sort of a large population that we've identified in our housing needs assessment as really needing apartments, not necessarily homeownership. And unfortunately, those are the hardest ones to build, because building affordable housing is not cheaper than building market rate housing.
No.
It costs the same amount, and you carry the same loans, and you have to make the same loan payments. And so we're really challenged in Chaffee County without additional resources to create additional subsidies on those units. And so that is something we're continuing to work on. We acquired the 505 apartments in Salida specifically because we could kind of meet some of those lower incomes.
Okay. And
then there's a sort of like what is often referred to as missing middle housing, which is 80% to 100% AMI or 120% AMI. And we're seeing a lot of that being built right now.
Okay.
And that's what's frustrating a lot of people is they're seeing construction occur, but it's for a type of housing that fits a demographic in our community, and they are very grateful that we're getting people in there and we're filling those slots, but there's people that that's not affordable to. And so we know that we still need to do more to meet that population. And then we work on, in partnership on homeownership with the Chaffee Housing Trust.
Okay.
Who primarily does homeownership for 100% AMI and below. So we partner with them a lot, and our goal is to hopefully someday move renters up through the different apartment levels into homeownership where they can build equity, and that really does kind of create that long-term big picture for us. But we've still got a lot of work to do, but for where we are at this point in time, 4 years in, we're finally starting to see units get built through City of Salida Inclusionary Housing, through private projects up in BV, through private projects down here in Salida, and we're leveraging. I think we leveraged $7 million in 2023, and another $7 million in 2024 for housing. And this year, I think we're already another $5 million in. So we're bringing in outside grants to try to bring down those costs. But there's just a gap. Mountain communities have a very hard time building for less than 80% AMI.
Okay. I have so many questions after what you just said. So first, to kind of create context for people, explain what AMI is and what is that.
I wasn't going to use the term. Darn it.
I know. You're
so close.
But it's okay, because it is part of, you read your website, you talk about it in there. So kind of just to educate people, because I think people, we kind of talked about kind of translating it into income levels, right? Yeah. But explain what that means just briefly, and so people can understand an income
federally,
level.
We all housing organizations, local governments that serve populations tend to use AMI. It means area median income. Okay. So at 100% area median income, 50% of the population is earning more, and 50% of the population is earning less. Okay. So it's a standardized point. Okay. Versus average. Everyone's like, why don't you use average? Because you can really skew. It takes out the data skews. Okay. Like if you have a lot of high income earners, it skews your average up. So this is like 50% above, 50% below. Gotcha. And so we use that as a measure up and down the housing price range. Okay. 30% to 60% very low income, 60% to 80% low income, 80% to 100% kind of middle, and then 100 to 140 moderate. Okay. And so we use that AMI as a measure of where someone's income is to qualify them for a unit that most often has a affordability covenant on it. Okay. And qualify them. So it's just a tool to standardize across the United States. Okay. And it's a benchmark. And so we use that to sort of, and then each, those populations I was talking about, for our region, assign AMIs to. So in the Front Range, 60% AMI is moderate. Oh. Here, 80% is moderate. Okay. And what is there a way to translate what is our 100%
so
our 100% AMI? This is the interesting thing. Yeah. It changes from year to year. Okay. So our county saw a 9% increase in AMI. 100% AMI went from $66,000 in 2024 to 72, I think. Double check my facts. Okay. Because I'm not remembering off the top of my head. But maybe low 70s. But we saw a 9% increase, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Some was responding to inflationary prices. So as prices were going up, people got raises. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing that reflected in our wages. Okay. It doesn't really mean you got a huge wage increase because the cost of living went up. Yeah. But it does increase now the cost of living because rents can be tied to those specific
I see. Okay.
prices.
Okay, so somebody that's making, so basically 100% AMI in, is Salida or all of Chaffee County?
This is Chaffee County.
Chaffee County, okay. Which, for those of you who aren't familiar with the area, where Salida is Buena Vista and Salida area. Those are the major towns in the county. So around the 72-ish is annual income would be 100% AMI.
77. I did write it down.
Okay. Oh, you got some notes there. That's good. Okay. So just so everybody can reference, because I think the reason why I wanted to talk about this is I think there's a lot of frustration around affordability. And then, so if you can put kind of, okay, well, I make this much.
Yeah. What's affordable?
What can I even get here? Is it even a possibility for me to like, renting is also not cheap. But, buying a home obviously is, you're building equity. It's a good way to build wealth for you and your family in the future. But how do you get in there? So it sounds like, talk a little about some of those homeownership programs. Yeah.
If people are interested in homeownership and they know they don't qualify for market rate, so you probably know the median price right now for a home.
Yeah, I mean, it fluctuates month to month, but we're sitting in the sevens. I usually tell people between $650 and $700, but as this time of year, so we're recording this, as we're getting into the summer, so it went up to a little above 700 median price point for this area.
Yeah. The staggering statistic is for the incomes earned in Chaffee County, 90% of our population would not qualify on income alone. They need to bring other assets. They need to have turned a house over. They need to be double income family, all of these things. So we are fortunate in that both the city of Salida and town of Buena Vista are working to require developers to create homeownership opportunities.
Okay.
And those are being fulfilled in a number of ways. In city of Salida, it's through the inclusionary housing program. We actually do the income qualification for individuals.
Okay.
So if people are interested, they can reach out to us on our buyers list on our website.
Oh, okay.
It's chaffeehousingauthority.org, and we have a buyers page, and you'd be interested in buying. There are units in the pipeline. I just directly came from a meeting talking about what might come up first. We've sold 3 units out of the inclusionary housing program, and those were for sale units for 100% to 120% AMI. So like one of the units sold at $350.
Okay.
Or 2 of those. That's very
not
affordable.
See
it's like 50% of the cost of a house on the market.
Yeah.
And then there are units that are in the pipeline, and we will be making announcements about those. And they probably won't come online until late 2025 at the earliest. But do get in touch with us, because we do send out announcements when we know what's going to happen. The other thing we do is we work with the Chaffee Housing Trust. The difference being is Chaffee Housing Trust is a land trust model nonprofit. Yeah. And they do homeownership only for 100% AMI and below. Okay. The majority of their homeowners are around 70%, 77% AMI. Okay. So even under that median level. Yeah. And they work with buyers. They provide down payment assistance. They help you get qualified. They help you on your credit repair to get you ready for that homeownership opportunity. And most of their units are priced at 80 to 100% AMI. So very affordable for our community. Yeah. And I think their webpage is chaffeehousingtrust.org. And they have units that are currently accepting applications to be qualified, and they're distributed kind of all over. And available within 6 months to a year and a half, which gives people a lot of time to prepare. Yeah. So there's homeownership opportunities in Chaffee County right now.
That's great. So, again, if you're in that price point, you want to stay here, you're working here, you want to find a way to live here, reach out, talk. So, obviously there's not a ton of these, but there are some. And so can you just briefly explain how somebody would be able to is it an application process?
Yeah, how does that work? So typically the only thing different than a normal homeownership process is you have to go through an income qualification to ensure that you meet the restrictions of a deed restricted unit.
I see.
So the goal of an affordable housing program with using deeds is to ensure that there are units that are available in the future to future home buyers at affordable prices that appreciate slower than the market.
Yeah.
Because clearly we've seen a 50% increase in Chaffee County over, less than a decade.
Yeah.
And we cap appreciation at 2% per year.
So you're still appreciating, but not at the same. So this is really just to let people understand the deed restriction means you can't flip it later and make this gigantic profit because you bought it below market. Yeah.
And then sell it for $7.
Exactly. Yeah. Because that's defeating the entire
However,
purpose.
we do believe in equity as well.
That's great to know. Yeah.
It doesn't compound, but you can appreciate it 2% per year. So you're still, it takes 5 to 10 years for a family or an individual to buy a house and build equity. Mm-hmm. That's true in a deed restricted unit as well. Yeah. You just cannot sell it for the same price.
Yeah. So if your circumstances change, you have to sell it next year. It will continue to be deed restricted.
For people who are interested, that sort of knowing that you can't buy a deed restricted unit that is deed restricted to 100% area median income, but you make 140% of income. You have to be within a range, and there's wiggle room. Yeah. You can stretch a little bit if you're lower, and you can be up to a certain limit. But you have to go through that process first, and that process is done either through the Chaffee Housing Authority for the Salida Inclusionary Housing Program units, or it is done through the staff at Chaffee Housing Trust for their particular units. Okay. But we will direct anybody to the right place.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a good starting point and kind of point people in the right location. And then I guess just to wrap it up here, I feel like it's important to just give some context to, this area in general, our housing challenge, why, and if you have any insights into what to expect. I feel like there's a lot of, there's people who are coming here, and there are people who have been here for a long time. There's a lot of opinions and emotions around it. Yeah. And, can you give us some insights into how we got here and what we're looking at?
Yeah.
As much as you can.
Yeah. For the first thing I would say is there's no single solution that's going to solve an affordable housing crisis. Mm-hmm. Like once you have affordability problems, and right now this is not just a U.S. problem, this is actually a global issue. Like I participate in a global community talking about affordable housing all around the world.
Yes, so it's not just a Salida thing.
It is not.
Or
it's not
Colorado
just us.
Thing.
Yeah, it's not just Colorado. I think the next thing is there's no one cause. It's a structural issue. Okay. We live in a society that both values real estate being an investment. Mm-hmm. At the same time, we want that investment to be affordable. Yeah. And those are sometimes in competition, particularly in places where you have amenities like we do. Yeah. But it is not, it's not greedy developers. It's not just, local land costs. It's not just local labor costs. It's not just our land use regulations. It's not, just the banks. There are many interrelated factors. It's all of those things. And one of the things we're seeing that is the biggest issue right now is actually interest rates. Because we have units that are affordable for the incomes that are here, but to qualify for a loan, the interest rates are just, they're just a little, it's the last gap. Okay. So it is a structural issue that requires everybody understanding that to solve it, we need to work together. Okay. And Chaffee Housing Authority can't solve it alone, Chaffee Housing Trust can't solve it alone, local government can't solve it alone, private market can't solve it alone. And there are a number of ways that if we continue to work in partnership, we continue to say, we believe that this community, we want diversity of people that live here, we want a diversity of incomes, we want people who've grown up here to stay here, we want people who are moving here to be welcome here. Yeah. And this is the type of community we want. And in order to do that, we have to provide affordable housing, and we need to look at all of the tools. Yeah. And we've got some of the tools in place. There is more that we can do, and we will continue to make advancements towards those. But as a community, we need to solve it together. And, the emotional part of it, like I said, like I've experienced it, my family experienced it as I was growing up. Mm-hmm. We were housing insecure. Like it is a very personal issue, and it's people's, stability is on the line. Yeah. And so we need to pay attention to like our most vulnerable first, and work our way through the problems as we go. And I think that's we're fortunate to have local government partners that are committed and want to find solutions and are working through things. We have organizations that are building capacity. The problem is outpacing our capacity, and we're trying to close that gap and chasing it down. But yeah, I mean, we just have to keep talking about it and being open and humble, because it is such a complex challenge.
Yeah.
And be open to learning about the solutions that are out there, because I've been doing this since I was 24 years old. My first job was in a housing authority and working on affordability in Santa Fe. Wow. Santa Fe was a model for affordable housing. It is 30 years later, and they still have an affordability problem. But they have thousands and thousands and thousands of units that they've built. So it doesn't go away. Yeah. So it's how do we do it together?
Yeah, I love that.
And how do we support each other?
Yeah. So how can people support your organization or any that can complement helping the affordable housing issues?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's learning, being open to learning about the complexity of the problem. We hear a lot of the opinions, and we're very open to continuing to have those dialogues, but also sort of listening to, what we have to say in terms of, like, why can't we do that? Like, are there state requirements that prevent us from doing that idea? Usually there are. Not that it isn't a good idea. So sure. I think some of it is learning. I think continuing to, when there are housing projects that are being built, we need people to stand up in support of those. Okay. In Chaffee County, over the past 10 years, we've had several affordable housing projects voted down by the voters. Projects, I'm not going to talk about the ballot measure, but projects. Yeah. And so standing up for when those are being built, because typically they're being built at higher densities, to stand up in support of those and say, those are things we need in order to ensure we have places for our workforce, for our kids, for our elderly, so they have somewhere to live. So we need to stand up for each other. Yeah. And I think, continuing to bring the challenges, like, we learn from all the stories of individuals that are struggling. So, like, if you're having a struggle, don't hesitate to share it with us, because it helps us understand what we might not be seeing. Okay. And, a population that's not getting served. And so, in the last 2 months, we've really been seeing a lot of seniors who are really struggling. And so that's really on our radar right now. And it's because they've been coming in and talking to us and telling us about some of the challenges that they're having. So we're starting to be able to advocate for that. Yeah, because if you don't know about it, how can you help? Yeah, so reach out to. So can you say your website again? It's our website is chaffeehousingauthority.org, and the email to contact us is info@chaffeehousingauthority.org. I do not have our phone number memorized. That's all right. Go to the website. It'll be there. But yeah, no, thank you for sharing that with us. We feel like we could talk about this for a long time, but it's a very complex issue. So and I know there's a lot of emotions and opinions about it. And so I think the biggest takeaway, at least I got from this, was just the working together aspect. And being, I think, solution-oriented rather than pointing the finger and trying to be this together. There are people out there that are trying really hard, and you're one of them, to create solutions for our community, and there's no one big fix. And I'll close with an example. Please do. Yeah, that's good. Jane's Place, which is currently under construction with a goal of being complete by end of December. That project came out of a community idea. That's where it started, and they were like, how do we do this? Let's build the partnerships to make this happen. And it eventually became what it is today. Yeah. And so that's what partnership can do. It can actually get things created. That's amazing. Yeah. So and that's going to be, how many units is that? That one's 17 units. Okay. Yeah. So that's great. That's wonderful for a community. That's like a good location, and a transitional shelter. So yeah, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate all that you're doing for our community. Me. Yes. And likewise, I enjoy these conversations and listening to your podcast and learning about what other people in the community are doing, because we're all working on our own, sort of making it better and stronger. Totally. And I think like you're saying, people who are coming here, if you're coming here, figure out a way to help. And this is, helping with your organization is another good way to help too. So there's a lot of people who come here with
really amazing professional backgrounds that can contribute in a positive way. So, well, thank you. Well, thanks for listening. Again, I'm Monica McCarthy. I'm a realtor who specializes in Salida and surrounding areas. If you're interested in connecting with me, whether it's to help you buy or sell a home here or about being on the podcast, all of my contact info is in the show notes. And if you like this podcast or you found this information helpful, please share it with somebody you think would benefit from this information. I think that's the best way to help someone learn about these tools. And you can learn more about Salida, Colorado and the real estate market here on my YouTube channel, Living in Salida, Colorado. Thanks for listening and take good care.